Hello guys and welcome to tutorial 2. In this tutorial we're going to be pretty much talking about what we saw in tutorial 1 but in detail. Alright, so remember in tutorial 1 we talked about comments. So comments are used to actually document our code for ourselves and for other people that want to see how our algorithms work and understand the process. Remember that when you're writing code, you're not only writing code for yourself. Sometimes you're writing codes for an entire team, and when your team comes around and they want to see how your code works, they might not know unless you leave them descriptive comments, right, about the code itself. So what I've done right here is I have a multi-line comment. So with a multi-line comment, you can leave many lines of comment here. And here what I do is I have the author. The author is going to be TKG Games. Then I have the file name. The file name is going to be sampleprogram.java. And remember that the sampleprogram.java file has to match the actual class definition for this program. So the file name and the class name have to be the same, all right? Or else you're going to have a problem when you are compiling your program. So the description for this program is to explain the Java class syntax, and then we have the date. Well, this was the date when I actually created this tutorial, but I didn't do the tutorial on that date, okay? So what we have here is a class definition, right? So we have the public keyword, we have the class keyword, and then we have the name of the object. And the name of the object is represented by the actual file name. Here when we have the curly brace, the open curly brace, so the open curly brace, what it does is start a block, all right? So you can think of a block like a box. And what a block does is it contains the scope of either the object or the method, all right? So a block pretty much is like a box that has logic inside of it, all right? And the block, what it does is it contains that logic. The next thing that we have is comments, like I said before. So comments are used to document code. It's used to improve code readability, all right? You have single line comments, which is also called end of line comments. You have the Java docs, which is the preferred, for documentation. And this is good because you can easily convert the documentation into HTML format, which you can then put on the web. So that's how the Java API is actually generated by using Java docs. Next, you have traditional multi-line comments, and this spreads the comments across many lines. So this is a traditional multi-line comments, and the multi-line comment starts with a / asterisk and an asterisk / all right? The next thing that we have right here is this public keyword. So remember that a keyword are words that are actually reserved by the Java programming language. They're used to actually specify certain instructions, all right? So class is used as a keyword here to make sure that when we want to create a class, we know that this is used to create the class, all right? So public is used to provide object access or deny access to other objects. This is going to be explained in depth when we talk about classes, all right? And then the keyword class is used to declare a Java class definition. The class keyword, which is also a reserved word, right, is followed by the class name, like this. So we have the class and then the class name, e.g. the sample program. The Java file name must match that of the class name, all right, which I said before. Each word in the class name must be capitalized. For example, sample program. So we can see that the sample and the program here are capitalized, and it's a Java way that we actually have to go ahead and make sure that the classes are capitalized, all right? So any full word has to be capitalized. It's actually called camel casing. So Java is case sensitive. So a word like hi and hi, right, are not equal to each other. So the exclamation here means not equal, and we're going to see this when we talk about conditional operators, okay? Next, we're going to talk about keywords. So as I mentioned before, keywords are reserved for Java programming language, right? So things like public and class, right? And the void keyword here are actually reserved by the Java programming language to specify certain instructions, all right? And they're all spelled in lowercase. So the open brace and the close brace, what the open brace does is it either begins the body of a class, an array, a method. There are several examples that I can list, but since we're talking about the beginning of Java, what I want to do is I want to keep things simple, and then when we start advancing into harder tutorials, this will make more sense because I will explain that in detail. So next that we have here is I actually define main for you guys. So remember that main is where the JVM looks to start the actual application. Without main, the application will not run. So you can have 1,000 classes, but one of those classes have to have main. Typically, we call that the driver class. Okay. So remember that a Java program must always have one class, right, that you create. So it must always have one class that you create, and it must always have a main method. So I have the open curly brace here, which is going to denote the start block of main. So remember I told you guys that the curly brace actually starts either a class, a method, or an array, body, right? So a block pretty much is it builds the program logic. Okay, so this open braces starts the logic for the main method, and the end block here ends the logic for main. So think of this as a box inside of a box. The class is the outside box, and main is the inside box. And when you go ahead and run the instructions in main, right, that main logic stays inside of main. Okay, and we're going to see this in the future. So this is called a method. So this right here is called a method. So you can think of a method as a small unit that does a specific job. Let's say that we wanted to get the powers of 2, right? So we can either keep multiplying the numbers by 2's, or we can create a variable that we can pass in that would do that for us, right? If we want to get 2 to the power of 3, we just pass in 3. If we want to get 2 to the power of 4, we just pass in 4. We don't have to keep on specifying the numbers. We can have a method that does the logic for us. Okay. So method main must exist as part of a Java application. So without main, the JVM will complain. It will actually tell you that main is not found and you can't start the application. So the static keyword here is going to be discussed in later tutorials. The void keyword here means that the method does not return any information. Like I said, when we want to find the power of 2's, if we go ahead and we say, well, 2 to the power of 2 is 4, right? We have to return 4. The information that we return is actually called an integer. It's a variable, right? So just like in math, when you say 2 to the square root of 2, you get 4. Right, so 4 is the answer that we get, is the information that we actually need to keep. Okay, so main is the actual name of the method, right? And strings array, an array is a container that holds variables of the same type, and we're going to talk about this in detail because they're very, very useful for building other more complex data types. All right, and here we have the only statement in this program here. So remember I told you guys that system.out is for standard output object. Okay, so remember that all Java programs are blueprints for creating objects, and this blueprint right here, what it does is create an object that has an instance of printstream in here. This system is a utilities class. It has an instance of printstream, and the printstream has a method. So remember that a method is a building block that does something, right? And what this print line method does is print text to the screen. All right, so the system.out.println, which is the complete object, displays text to the screen. And what text does it display? It displays hello world to my channel. And hello world to my channel is actually called an argument. An argument is anything that a method needs to actually complete the task. Okay. And if you see a statement like this that ends in a semicolon, then it's called a statement. So this is a statement. This is a complete statement in Java because it says this object that I've created that prints out text to the screen. Once you have done that, I want you to stop. So this is what this semicolon here means. All right. And you can see that the curly brace here is the end of the block for main. All right. So when main reaches here, main is done. And then when you come down here, the class block is done and we exit the program. All right, guys, I hope this makes sense. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section. Like I said, I want to take time to make sure that you guys really understand what's going on in these tutorials so you can enter into your Java class, or if you want to be self-taught, and I want you to understand every single detail so that you can build the basics and be able to do anything else that you want when it comes to programming. Remember that programming is an art, and learning the basics well will guarantee that you can learn anything about that programming language very, very easily. Alright guys, this has been it for this tutorial. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good night. Bye-bye.